Artur Pawlowski is a man who needs no introduction. We've all seen him during the lockdowns and how he was treated by the authorities. He spent 50 days in jail for defying lockdowns during COVID pandemic. Now he's fighting back.
Well, we have already filed the claim.
The filed statement of claim names multiple government institutions as defendants, including the Calgary Police Chief Mark Neufeld, Alberta Health Services, the City of Calgary, the Attorney General of Canada, and others.
Finally, after all the craziness, all this abuse of power, imprisonments, tickets, and overall this craziness that we observed in the past few years, we finally we were able to get together all the evidence that we need, the legal team, and we filed a claim in December, and we're going after the Attorney General, we're going after all levels of government, we are suing the Chief of Police, we're going after officers, Jane Doe, John Doe, we're going after Alberta Health Services for what they have done to us, we're going after RCMP as well, Jane Doe, John Doe, and all the other agencies that we will uncover through the proceedings and discoveries. And what makes this whole thing super exciting is that we will be able to give the right information to the people. We will be able to show the people who did what, who was pulling the strings, what kind of people. I mean, in the end of the day, I remember, a virus did not do this to us. It was people that did it. I want to know who did it. And I think Canadians want to know who was pulling the strings, who was telling the officers to go and harass people and intimidate them. And ultimately, because of their actions, people hurt and many died.
You were in defense mode when they were attacking you, arresting you one after another, and you have witnessed your husband being taken away for 50 days at once. How did you, as a family, come through these difficult times?
You know, this is good time to say then yes, they did this to us, but in a sense they did this to everyone, and it's this overwhelming injustice in Canada, overwhelming injustice. And we have people around us that are saying, so what? They are too big for us, too expensive to fight. Somebody has to. Somebody has to. And because they did this to us, either we say, oh, well, injustice, all those money that has been spent on lawyers, we are in it together. If not of people's help and all that, we wouldn't be able to do it. And moral support and finances. So many people are victims of this injustice. We have to lead by example, that someone somewhere is going to go after them. And if possible, we want to do this very public.
Yeah, we are going to be at the courthouse tomorrow at noon. So if you want to come and support us. I mean, we're doing this for you as well, not just for ourselves. We I truly believe that you deserve to know who was in charge of this greatest attack on our liberties in a history of our beloved Canada. You were talking about a defense mode. Well, I have been charged over 40 times in the past few years under the big lie. I was arrested multiple times. There was no time to go on offense. There was no time or ability even to do anything except I need to get myself out of that gallows. My family was fighting for my life. During the proceedings, we will be able to prove that there was a conspiracy to commit murder. As you know, they put my house on fire. As you know, 5 inmates already testified that they were receiving incentives to murder me, to beat me in prison. Of course, the kidnapping by the sheriffs, being placed in MaxPot for the most dangerous terrorists, being placed in metal cages like a dog, being placed in concrete, in a solitary cells, no water, no washroom. Like, why? And then, of course, Alberta Health Services, the ongoing attack on our lives, and the government putting me in a psych ward without the evaluation of the doctors, without the knowledge of Alberta Health Services. All of those things, we will, for the first time, we will be able to bring to the public, to the public, for the people to see, to know, to understand what was really going on and how bad was it.
Mm-hmm. Do you, as a family, I will ask both of you, have a message to the villains?
Well, first of all, we forgive them. We have forgiven them from the very beginning. We are Christians, and we pray for the villains. Believe it or not, we pray for those that have tried and did try to harm us even more. However, justice demands restitution. You see, we're doing this for something way bigger than what happened to Arthur Pawlowski, what happened to David Pawlowski, what happened to Pawlowski's family or our church. We must send a message to the villains that sooner or later they will be accountable, that sooner or later accountability will come. We must go back to the checks and balances. We must expose them and show the world who they are. I think neighbors deserve to know who lives next door. Neighbors deserve to know, Albertans deserve to know what kind of monsters they are supporting and giving their taxes to. So I think the past 3 years we were on a defense mode because we had to. The gallows were huge. I was facing 12 years of imprisonment. My life was in jeopardy, in and out, arrested, in and out. But now all of that is done. We filed an appeal in September, and that freed us to really reevaluate of what happened in the past few years, put this massive, enormous amount of evidence that we have right now. You got to remember, our story was very well documented. We have witnesses, hundreds of witnesses of what was done to us. Mm-hmm. And we will bring this forth. Every step of the way, we will show the people who was behind every action. And I think that's worth fighting for. I think out of all of this, we must, at least in a little scale, we must bring those villains into a justice of the public opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think we will be able to accomplish that. I think when the people will see what was done to us, the craziness of it all, they will say like, wow, that was unnecessary. That was not asked for. That was not needed. And why did they do it? I think that's the first opportunity that we have in a very long time to let the public know what really happened behind the closed doors. You got to remember that those judges that enabled those officers and health inspectors, everything they have done, they did it behind the closed doors, off camera. I want to know who was there. I want to know who said what. I want to know, and I think the people want to know as well. So I'm super excited. I'm telling you, I'm super excited about this lawsuit because it will give us that information. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, we will share it with everyone, with the whole world.
You know, I think this is good opportunity and good time right now to say thank you to everybody that supported us. This is much bigger than just us and our fight and our family. We were not alone. It was overwhelming support, overwhelming love, overwhelming feeling that this is their fight, not just our fight. And we cannot stop that. It's in this country, there's still law and order, and what they did to us and many others that are just quiet about it because they feel overwhelmed by the giants. We have to they broke the law in the name of the law, and we still have to say, wait a minute, prove it that law and order right now, because this is what we are proving. Is law and order existing in Canada or not? And this is worth fighting for, to remind them that they cannot break law in the name of the law.
And my last question, Arthur, goes to you. What is the precedent you are seeking to set?
Well, you see, as you know, I love history. I teach history, not just theology. And what I have been observing in the past few years was a repetition of history. Why Nuremberg was so important? It was not just because we wanted to go after a few Nazis. It was very important because it was sending a message to potential other Nazis in the future. Look what can happen to you. We can hang you. We can imprison you for crimes against humanity. I think that's what's needed again in the 21st century. We need an example that those people are not above the law. What we observed, and we still observe that in a big scale, that those people feel that they can do whatever they want, and there's no checks and balances, there's no accountability, that there is really nothing we, the people, can do, about it. And I think this case, and I hope that there will be others, thousands of others, that will rise up and will sue them, personally go after them, not just the corporations, not just the government agencies, but personally go after the officers, personally go after the Alberta Health Services, personally go after the politicians, make their lives miserable. And we can do that. There's more of us than of them. And I think that this will send a message to potential other villains in the future. Hey, wait a second, this can happen to me. If those people before me did that to them and look how they end up, well, if I do this to the same people again, maybe I will end up in hot waters or in trouble as well. It must happen. It has to happen, and someone has to do it. So I guess God has chosen us, little Pawlowskis here, to plow this huge field and stand against the giants of the land. But you know what? I think we were made for such a time as this. They've done everything in their power to hurt me physically, financially, to hurt my family, threatened, harassment, coercion, intimidation, fixers, you name it. We experienced bribery, of course, and blackmails, threats of life. And yet, here we are. And we're not just defending ourselves anymore. That's it. Enough of the victim mentality. Now, my friends, enough of victim mentality. Let's go after the villains. And if you can't, if you don't have enough evidence like we do, support us. Go to streetchurch.ca, please. We cannot do this alone. We survived this because God was on our side, because he's on the side of the truth, but also because of people like you. You were chipping in for the Legal Defense Fund. You were praying for us. You were supporting us. You were tweeting. You were sharing what was happening to us. And we need this again. We need to rally the people again against the monsters of today, because don't kid yourself, those people are monsters. And what they have done is a crime against humanity, not just against us. Those crimes were done against the children. And I think children are worth fighting for. What kind of a nation we're going to give it to them if we will not stand up and fight today? So I think it's a great opportunity for the entire country to come together, and definitely here in the province of Alberta, and show those monsters that we, the people, we will fight you. We'll fight you all the way until Jesus comes back. Tomorrow at noon, 12 o'clock, we're going to file on our enemies. We already filed in the courts. The statement of claim is, as you know, 40-page document, and this is just the beginning. We will uncover other parties. We will uncover other individuals. This could be hundreds of people that we are planning to sue, and not just the corporations, not just the government agents. And I said to our legal team, I don't care how long it's going to take, and I don't care how much money. I know that people are waiting for someone, someone that will rise up against the giants of today, like David. And I'm willing to do it, even if we need to be with a stone.
And you are inspired by Nuremberg trials, is that right?
Yeah, of course, being Polish immigrant, I grew up in a country that everywhere you turned was the effects of the Nazi regime. I grew up in a city with a concentration camp. My grandparents went through the Nazi era. My grandma was in Auschwitz, being tormented by Mengele. So when we studied history and when I heard from my grandparents and the older generation about Nuremberg, it gives you a little bit of sweet, bitter hope, I guess, that at least some of those monsters were brought to justice. So that's why I'm saying I can't go after, 400 bureaucrats in the province of Alberta. I understand that. But you know what? I can go after few. And I want you to help me to go after those few. Let's make an example out of them. While they wanted to make an example out of us, I say let's make an example out of them.
All power to you. Any last comments?
Maybe this is a good time to say it, since we remember the history in Nuremberg, that we are quite popular in German communities, in German churches. And often we are invited to German churches built on the immigrants that escaped Germany. And they say, we just came from Vancouver Island. We came to this country. My parents brought us here. We came to this country because we wanted to escape what was happening in Germany. And of course, we know that. And we see a repetition of history.
Right now.
And they are admitting that.
I would not survive this without the support of a masses. And I mean hundreds of thousands of people that prayed for us and supported us. And we just need that booster again. We need the people to come in solidarity and say, hey, we helped them to survive the abuse and attack. Now let's help them to go after the villains. And we can do it. I have faith. I have been debating this in my own heart. We talked, of course, as a family for months. What should we do? And I'm more confident than ever that it's time to go after the villains. It's time. It's time. The time has come to make them accountable for everything evil they have done, unleashed on our beloved Alberta and Canada.
Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you there tomorrow.
Yeah,
Thank you. If you would like to support my journalism, please consider donating at mediabizergan.com/donate so I can deliver you the news that matters. Thank you.